Woo! Ah, shit.
What?
What
Get-
happened?
Get ready for a heavy day.
Really?
Yeah.
Every day.
Again?
Did
Again?
it friend-
Yeah?
Literally cried yesterday. Like, I cried.
There's another me inside me. Well, that's great. We're already having an existential crisis before we would start.
Yo, Frank, you missed a lot.
It's okay.
Did you not watch the ketchup?
Man's
No,
busy.
I was traveling to New York and back.
Dude, it was only 58 minutes. Yeah, you should have watched.
Pain.
That was a quick chiru chiru.
Chiru.
What, we have just dual personalities? Shit.
Wait, if we
Is it-
sleep with one of them, do we sleep with both of them?
I'll explain that later.
I need
Hold on,
answers.
wait, before you continue, like, I have a question because,
Go
like,
ahead.
when I was watching the ketchup yesterday, so you were just like, they didn't sleep together, and then Zinx asked you again if they slept together, and then you said yes. So you said no, and then you said yes. So now I'm very confused.
So thank you for because I completely forgot I was going to explain this before we actually started. So the all ages version removed in a very important scene earlier. Yuji's supposed to confess his love to her, but
Yeah.
and then he's like, okay, we're not pretending anymore. This is a real thing. But
He didn't say that, right? So,
yeah, I'm just
that-
clarifying right now.
so
Yeah,
when he said he slept with her, did he mean just like
yes,
literally like
yes, they actually did.
did the deed?
Yes, yes. I just
They did the
Oh.
deed!
But like okay, you
it's
know,
it's
I'm
no
just
longer
gonna-
pretend. They just in the middle of it he confessed and that was it. Like they're no longer.
I mean, obviously they couldn't show that in the censored.
I know
version.
that, but they could at least put the little lines of it. Like, come on, they're just like, boom, okay, now it's morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
Yeah, it-
everybody. Nothing happened.
I'm just
Nothing
it was very confusing because like when Zinx originally asked, you're just like, no, they didn't do anything, and then they're just
Joke.
like, oh yeah, they slept together. Oh yeah, so like you know,
It's just
cool.
two friends sharing a room. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
that always ends well.
Just two friends being bros. Okay, no.
Mm-hmm.
Just
See?
friends.
Hi, Momo.
Just friends.
If you're a guy, I don't
This is
really
one
want
hell
to
of a
sleep with your
start.
bro.
Yeah.
Poggers.
She knows everything about me. I cannot do a good Michiru voice.
It's okay.
But
Did
I
you
know
watch the anime
nothing
or
about
something?
her.
Oh.
I watched some scenes.
So we gotta speak Japanese
I
first.
wonder what scenes.
The sniper one.
Of course.
In that case, which of us has the better claim to be the real me?
Momo.
I was born into a relatively wealthy
No,
family.
Ryan, no.
My parents
stop.
valued me highly, all the more so because I was their only child. They provided me with an excellent education, hoping to raise me into a worthy
Ladies and
daughter.
gentlemen.
One they could show off with pride. Although I was still a child,
Hmm.
no, maybe it's because I was still a child. They brought countless tutors to our home to pack knowledge into my head, like travelers stuffing all their luggage into one tiny, overburdened suitcase. The tutors were all excellent in their fields, and they all charged heavily for their lessons. After studying with them, even the most uncooperative and dim-witted of children could be safely sent off into the world. And then I died.
This girl was built different.
You're going so.
You're doing so well.
But I
It was
guess I
simply
not
built
just a
different.
special case. It took a lot of time and trouble for me to learn the simplest things. I was a moron. When shown a perfectly clear example, then told, "Now you try, please," I couldn't even imitate my tutors properly. Oh my god, that's a mood. I understood what I needed to do, but when I tried to put that knowledge into practice, my voice would quake and my throat would go dry. Even though I wasn't being threatened in any way, tears would come to my eyes.
Yo, see.
Oh. Piano and violin, arithmetic and the English alphabet, it was all the same, no matter what the subject.
Momo.
When I hesitated, my tutors would say, "You didn't understand? I'll do it one more time," and repeat the example faster than before. And then they would glare at me with eyes that said, "Get it right already." That really, really scared me.
Damn, their eyes has some deep voice, yo.
My body would freeze up entirely. My clothes would grow damp with sweat. By the time my molars began to chatter against each other, I could no longer muster the strength to even try.
What a baby.
The tutor would scowl down at me, looking ready to burst into angry shouting at any moment. Holy shit.
Shit, bro.
Like, the heavier their gazes weighed on me, the less I could move or think. Time crawled past in empty silence. In the end, the tutor would simply sigh in her exasperation and leave the room. It wasn't uncommon for my lessons to end with nothing more than that. Dejected and humiliated, I could only reflect on my own uselessness. And as I stood in my quiet room, stuck still and alone. Stuck? Not stuck with you? Eventually I would hear an angry voice from outside. Oh no.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Damn
sock
it.
is the proper term for this.
Okay. Again and again, violent words rattled against my window pane like fat drops of icy rain. Oh.
Yo, fat drops.
I
Sick.
would cover my ears and wait for the storm to pass. It tended to go on for quite some time. When the shouting finally ended and silence returned, my father would come to my room and push open the door.
Michiru, どうした?先生に遠慮することはないんだぞ。お前はパパとママの子だ。やればできるんだからね。あの無能どもにはお前のいいところをちゃんと伸ばせるようにとしっかり言ってやったからな。今度からは頑張るんだぞ。
I wonder. I wonder. If she has like, I don't know, ADHD or something.
そうだ。
She just has dumb.
なんでだってやつを
Wow.
She just has moral.
She wasn't always an idiot.
My dad was nice to me. It was hard to believe he was the same person who'd been shouting at the teacher just a few minutes ago.
What are you doing?
When he held me against his broad, powerful chest, I smelled cigarettes and women's perfume. Never the same brand twice.
Oh.
It was comfortable, but also a little scary. Oh. I've got to do better next time. I can't let Daddy and Mommy down. That night, I knelt by the window, joined my small hands together, and prayed to the stars.
神様、私がちゃんと習い事やお勉強ができるように、しっかり見守っていてください。
Small Michiru voice, pretty cute.
The next day was my regular music lesson. I sat perched quietly in front of a piano that had been shipped overseas from Hamburg, waiting for the teacher to arrive. Jesus. In that moment, if somebody had snuck up and hit the keyboard, I might have tumbled right off the bench. My anxiety and fear must have shone on my face. When my tutor finally arrived, she closed the door carefully behind her and immediately came to my side.
あなたはね、本当にダメで落ちこぼれでバカなのよ。わかってる?
Oh,
Yeah, what the fuck?
fuck.
By the way, it's
She spoke in
like
a very
JB's voice.
gentle voice.
Gentle.
So for a moment, the sentence didn't really register. But all too soon, I realized that she had spoken awful, terrifying words.
さあ言ってごらんなさい。私は落ちこぼれのダメな人間です。
JB's brutal.
The fuck?
The tutor struck me with a thin, stiff rod. The stinging pain of the blow lingered like a nasty paper cut.
あなた日本語がわからないの？誰がそんな返事をなさいって言いました？
What the fuck?
さあ、言ってごらん。あなたのせいで私がお父様に無能だと言われているのよ。
What
あ
the
な
fuck?
たが全部悪いんでしょ。あなたの責任なのよ。はい。私は落ちこぼれでバカのダメな人間です。
I didn't want to say it. Even a child could understand how cruel those words were. But I was so terrified of being struck again that I squeezed them out anyway.
私は落ちこぼれでバカなダ ダメ人間です。そうね、よくできたわね。褒めてあげましょうね。さあ、練習するわよ。はい。そうそう。先生が指導したところ、お父様に見せたらダメよ。
What?
もしそんなことしたら、殺しますからね。
I don't think she could have been serious, but my entire body shook in fear. I was so terrified that I couldn't answer. And since I didn't respond, she hit me again. Oh god. From that day on, violence came to be known as discipline.
いい子ね。では、レッスンしましょう。
I had numerous tutors, but after that day, it wasn't long before every one of them began to discipline me in the same way. That female tutor may have told the others that I wouldn't tattle to my parents, no matter what they did to me. Their discipline grew more refined with time, developing into a kind of art. They found ways to cause me pain without leaving telltale marks behind. Skillfully and thoroughly, they broke my mind and body. It became impossible for me to look people in the eyes when I spoke. I was never good at holding lengthy conversations, but my responses grew shorter with every passing day. By the end, I was barely speaking at all. Even then, my suffering might have been slightly meaningful if those Spartan lessons had produced results. But no matter how hard I tried to please my tormentors, it never improved my evaluations. My father dismissed the tutors in ones and twos over my terrible results, until none remained. They cursed me to my face before they went. Some even spat onto the floor of my room before stalking out.
ミチル、何か嫌なことはあったかい？
何もない。
そうか。まあ、勉強や習い事なんてできなくていいさ。健康に育ってくれれば、それだけでパパは満足だぞ。
So it's more the tutor's fault, right? It was more the tutor's fault.
Yep.
But I
Shit.
was unable to fulfill even that modest hope. Fuck. On my walks around the garden, I would sometimes find myself painfully short of breath, clutching my throbbing chest. Sweetie, that's anxiety.
Yeah.
My parents grew concerned. Eventually, they brought me to a big hospital for an examination. And there, I was diagnosed with a serious heart disease. The doctor's verdict: continuing to lead a normal life outside of the hospital would necessitate significant restrictions on my activities. From now on, I'd have to refrain from vigorous exercise.
穏やかに無理をせず過ごしなさい。そうでないと取り返しのつかないことになるよ。
I couldn't study or play the piano. I was never much of an athlete. Even walking with people was a struggle. And now, I'd become an invalid who couldn't even live a normal life.
Damn.
As I watched my parents' faces fill with disappointment, a thought occurred to me. Oh, look at that. My tutors were right all along. They told me I was a stupid, useless person who didn't even deserve to live. And they weren't wrong. They must have said it hundreds of times. Why didn't I figure this out earlier? Of course they beat me. It's only natural to treat garbage like garbage. Thinking that way made me feel a little better.
Jeez.
Fuck.
You know, you don't have to keep reading if you don't want to.
No, it's okay.
It's
Fuck.
good
I was
though.
stupid to even try to answer my parents' expectations. I wasn't cut out for that from the start. The thought freed me from my burdens. It also wiped away the meaning of my existence. Soon, my parents had lost all hope in me and devoted their nights to producing a new child. The previously frequent visits to my room grew rare, and the time I spent alone increased. My room was was always cold. I kept the curtains shut throughout the day. Little by little, I felt myself slipping away from the world outside. Nothing I did turned out right, but of course it didn't. I was a defective from the start. Clumsy and awkward as it was, I soon found the one and only thing I was good at. Letting time roll past in empty, uneventful silence. I would sit quietly in the corner of my room, not budging a millimeter all day, simply drawing breath. That alone became something of a specialty of mine. Even a mollusk at the bottom of the sea probably wouldn't beat me at staying still. That was all I had left to be proud of. I continued to live like a clam, but biologically speaking, I was a human being. My
No
body
way.
grew larger little by little, and in time I stopped being a child. I was no longer allowed to shut myself up in my room doing nothing. I had to go to a place called school. The little mermaid who lived at the bottom of the sea couldn't speak the human tongue very well. By the same token, I couldn't really communicate with the other students. It didn't help that I was a clam, not a beautiful princess. Everyone around me could live a normal life. I envied them from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't study or make friends. Moving around a little would get my heart screaming with pain. Just keeping myself breathing was about all I could manage. At first, a number of my classmates made an effort to draw me out of my solitude. But I didn't know what to say to them. Most of the time, I just nodded my head and mumbled, "Yeah," with a stiff expression on my face. Inevitably, the people who approached me gradually gave up, and eventually the class came to operate as if I wasn't there. That was kind of a relief in a way. Nobody expected anything from me, so I couldn't disappoint anyone. It was as though I was made of air. Even in school, I could return to my life as a clam. I thought that was just fine. Not bad at all. My parents made sure I went to school regularly, probably thinking I'd at least have to communicate with other people there. But it wasn't rare for me to go on an entire day without speaking a single word. Even when the teacher took attendance, they'd just glance in my direction, not bothering to call my name. As my free time increased, I began to think pretty regularly about the whole point of my own existence, or rather the pointlessness. Why was I going to school? Why was I even alive? I considered these questions at some length. Watching from afar as my classmates laughed together and chatted enthusiastically about television, sometimes I would have to fight down the urge to burst into tears. They were so close, but I was separated from them by an insurmountable wall. Even a trash can is useful to others. I was just taking up space. Why was I born in the first place? My parents had given me a cell phone, saying that probably needed it as a student. There wasn't a single message or call recorded in the history log. The memory was clean, pure white.
What the fuck?
That phone must have been lighter than anyone else's. It was empty inside. Unless I kept a firm grip on it, it'd probably float up into the air, get pecked up by some passing bird, and disappeared with a pop. I want to die.
Yavo. Same.
Same.
In the end, that was my only conclusion. A year passed in that school, then two, and that was my only constant rock of truth. On the deserted rooftop of the school building, looking up into the blue sky that stretched out over the road and school, I
Uh-oh.
looked for death. I simply didn't understand the point of continuing to breathe. Living every day as a non-entity is something like walking on an icy road in bare feet. At first it's scary, but soon enough your nerves are paralyzed. You feel nothing at all. A good while later, when you realize this might be pretty bad, it's already far too late. There's nowhere to go from here. There's nothing to be done. You live every day of your life frozen to the ground, choking on bitter cold air. Might as well just die then.
Nope. Shit.
With that thought in mind, I began to head up to the roof during every recess period. Up there, the only thing separating this world from the next was a waist-high steel fence. Someday, I'll cross over that fence and become free. Someday, I'll escape into nothingness. Comforted by those thoughts, I waited patiently for the right timing. I waited for someone, God or whoever else, to send a sign just for me. I wrapped my arms around my knees and said, telling myself maybe today would be the day. Maybe today, the clouds would part from a ray of light, and a voice from above would say, "Come, it's time." I would stare closely at the trains barreling past the station, wondering if the sign might flash past in the window of a carriage. But instead, I just sat by myself on the roof. No matter how long and patiently I waited, I never saw any signals. Nobody whispered the words in my ear. In the end, I was all alone, just like I was everywhere else. Every place was the same to me. I was in the corner of my room, where I'd been beaten terribly. I was deep at the bottom of the sea, where no light could reach me. I was at the end of the world, surrounded on all sides by silent walls of stone. God must have been busy with something else. Otherwise, why wouldn't he fly over to me and speak the words? One day, when I went to the rooftop as usual, I found a girl who had just in that very moment crossed over the fence. She was standing boldly out over the edge of the building, staring straight ahead. And when I saw her, one powerful thought filled my mind. That's not fair. After all my anguished internal debating, all my suffering, my waiting, I couldn't get myself over that fence. Why did this girl get to make it look as
Bro,
easy?
this school needs a bigger fence. What the
Yep.
fuck?
Yeah.
That girl was going to kill herself. She was going to leap off the roof, fall into the concrete below, and end her life. It was obvious now from the way she stood there, straddling the border between roof and sky, arms outstretched like wings to catch the wind. Seemed almost to be enjoying herself. It wasn't the sort of pose you could make if you cared about your own life. Anyway, it wasn't fair. Why did she get to die when I had to live? I didn't have the first idea who she was, but it just wasn't fair. I was trying to shout as loudly as I could, but what came out of my mouth was a weak, spiritless sound, like the rasping of a broken down old accordion.
ずるいよ。死んだら嫌だよ。ずるいもん。
It probably didn't help that I wasn't used to conversation, but my voice just wasn't coming out right. The girl quietly stared down at the ground far below, not even noticing my presence behind her. She seemed to be looking for the exact moment to jump. Maybe God had already given her the signal.
ねえ、ずるいってば。ダメなの。嫌なの。
I called out again and again, but she didn't seem to hear. Maybe I no longer even existed in this world. Maybe I'd slipped into some alternate plane of existence long ago. I was just peeking into this world through an interdimensional one-way mirror. She ignored me so completely that it seemed possible.
ねえ、聞いてよ。聞いてよ。
Called out to her, my voice choked with tears, but even then she didn't turn around.
そうだな。よし、せーのでいくか。うん。せーの。ねえ、聞いてよ。うわ
The girl's body went into spasms of shock. She looked like a well-dyed man with his fur standing on end.
危な！びっくりした。落ちるとこだった。
And then, at long last,
Oh,
she
what the
turned and turned around to face me.
Oh no, I almost fell off, but I was just about to jump. I'm glad you stopped me. Like,
Thanks.
Oh, hold on.
誰？ねえ、聞いてよ。聞いて。え？なんで泣いてるの？っていうか、いつからいたの？ずるい。死ぬとかずるい。ずるい？え？どういうこと？
My tear-stained face must have been a real sight. The girl lifted herself over the fence and returned to this side. She was wearing the same uniform as me, surprisingly. Unsurprisingly, she was clearly from my school.
Yeah. Friend!
すっごいひどい顔してる。拭いたら？
She handed me her handkerchief, and I dried my tears. Nothing like that had ever happened to me before. It was embarrassing, but it made me sort of happy. I didn't really know what to do next.
で、何？用？
You want to trade places?
That was kind of a hard question, actually. I just didn't want her to die. And it's not like I was about to lecture her on treasuring her life or anything. I was just scared by the thought of someone escaping this world while I was still hesitating on the edge.
その…何？
The girl watched me as if observing some rare species of animal. I didn't have the first idea where to begin or how to explain myself. So after thinking it over for quite some time, I chose the simplest option.
はじめまして。私もみちるです。
What a bizarre circumstance.
このタイミングで挨拶？
She's got a funny face.
しかもそれだけ？終わり？それを言うためだけに？
Scarred up after all, huh? Guess I can't even manage formal conversation anymore. The thought made me genuinely sad. I couldn't find my usual numb indifference. It felt like a harsh reminder that I didn't belong in this world any longer. Watching as I slumped over my shoulders dejectedly, the girl burst into laughter, and although I didn't have any real evidence either way, I didn't feel like she was mocking me. It was relieved, happy laughter, the sort of laughter I hadn't heard in a long time.
何それ？あなた変な人ね。
I wasn't sure what to do, so I just stood there quietly as she laughed and laughed. But no matter how patiently I waited, she just wouldn't stop. Much the opposite. After a while, she threw herself down on the ground and began to roll around. Her roars of amusement even louder than before.
おかしい！変なの！怖かった。すっごい怖かった。何事かと思った。っていうか死ぬかと思った。
Oh yeah?
Nobody in the school seems pretty bright.
Is it the same school?
Watching her rolling around like that started to get me in a kind of a silly mood myself. The moment I noticed a little giggle slipping out of my mouth, the dam seemed to break. I began laughing so loudly I surprised myself.
笑ってる。何それ。
Younger laugh.
two of us laughed for a very, very long time. Long enough that the color of the sky changed above us. Long enough that I could almost believe whole seasons had passed by. When her laughter finally came to an end, the girl rose shakily to her feet, both hands clutching her belly. She opened her mouth to speak, but at first could only manage a few high-pitched little giggles.
はあ、死ぬ気なくなっちゃったなこれ。
Yeah, very same.
Same. So that was it after all. That girl had been planning to die. I knew that much from the start, but when she came out and said it so bluntly, I was still slightly taken aback.
バカらしい。ああ、笑えた。こうなるとあなた、命の恩人だね。私の。命の恩人
Yo, the triple eyebrow bothers me.
Thick
でしょ
eyebrows.
No
あり
problem.
がとう。
Are they thick? It's like 3 thin lines.
It's a
I
thing.
didn't deserve to be thanked by anyone. Why was she saying this to me?
あの、
Listen,
Girl, I feel you.
I
feel
Monday.
you.
I know the eyebrow thing is a thing, but why?
I don't fucking
む
know.
しろなぜ泣く
お
よしよし、落ち着け落ち着け。どうどうどうどう。
The girl wrapped a hand around my neck and drew me close. After briefly
Damn,
petting me,
chokehold
she caught
already.
me tightly around against her. I see that scrunchy.
Yeah.
No.
I was actually gonna
Oh, no.
point it out. Yeah.
What?
あなたは
Look at the
本当に
scrunchie
変な子
at
だ
her
ね。
left arm.
でもそういう子、
Yeah.
嫌いじゃないぞ。
Been noticing
と
that.
か言ったりしてな。
Her
What
chest
the
had a
fuck?
sweet, milky odor. I never smelled another girl's body like this before. I didn't know what to do. About anything, really. It was all too much. My mind just couldn't keep up.
そうだな。
Y'all wonder why she was a bit gay with Sachi at some point.
うん、友達になろう。何しろ命の恩人だもんね。これはもう親友だな、むしろ。そうだよ、親友だよ。親友じゃん。
Friend!
Shit.
When?
うん。親友？よろしくね、親友。よろしくお願いします。
I'd convinced
Friend
myself there
acquired.
was no
Let's
place for me
go.
in this world. But then I felt the life pulsing in her chest. I found myself able to breathe easily again. She smelled sweet, and her body was soft and warm. I couldn't remember the last time I'd been so close to another person. Oh. Contact with other people had always seemed so scary. And it really was scary, to be honest. But at the same time, how can I put this? More than anything else, it felt like someone was gently tickling my heart. Okay.
Yeah.
Word flex, but okay. I returned home that day feeling as if I'd been reborn. Probably because of my unusually cheerful expression. My parents struck up a conversation with me for the first time in a while. I wasn't able to explain very well, but I did tell them I'd gotten to know somebody at school. I didn't say I made a friend, let alone a best friend. After all, there was still a chance that it had all been a delusion on my part. Maybe tomorrow everything will be right back to the way it was. That would be way too sad, right? Better not to get my hopes up. My parents said, I see, good for you. Mixed emotions on their faces. Not that it bothered me much. That night I ate my dinner slightly earlier than usual. I slipped into bed slightly before my normal time. For once, I actually wanted tomorrow to arrive a little faster.
Oh.
But in school the next day, I found everything the same. It wasn't like it had changed after all. I was still just myself. You have to work for it, dear. You have to work for it. It's not magically appearing. Nobody
mean I
in my
can't just
class
wait?
tried to talk to me. That morning, I thought I might be able to keep a bit of a smile on my face, but in the end, my expression was gloomier than ever. Maybe that girl I met the day before was a sign from God. It'll cost me meddling to keep me from killing myself at the wrong time.
There's the right time?
When-
Is the right time
when
to kill
there-
yourself? Shit.
When is there a right time to do it? You just do it. I
Depends.
do not condone killing yourself. I'm sorry.
Disclaimer.
Could have just disclaimer. Could have just said so from the start. Then I nearly misunderstood. Nearly thought I found some place where I belonged. Nearly thought it was okay for me to live. Nearly started thinking I like a normal person.
Bro, what the fuck?
That was a close one. I almost forgot what my tutors taught me so thoroughly.
The fuck?
Yeah, that had to be it. I didn't have a best friend. It was all a dream. Dreams aren't worth it, are they? You end up feeling really tired when you wake up.
Yeah.
Generally how that works.
After school, I stood from my seat before anyone else and beelined for the exit. For now, I just wanted to get out of the place, but the rooftop had become frightening, so I couldn't go back there. I wanted to run away, but I couldn't figure out where to go. All I knew was that I didn't want to be where I was. Oh? Is she going AWOL from school? When I slid open the door and dashed out into the hallway, there was a harsh thump and
It's
everything
best
went
friend.
up for a moment. In my haste, I ran headlong into someone.
ごめんなさい。
Somehow squeezing out the words, I turned to run. But before I could take another step, someone firmly seized me by the back of my uniform. I reflexively dropped my bag and shielded my head against the blow that would follow. This was a deeply ingrained habit from my childhood. When the tutors hit my head strongly, the nausea and dizziness would sometimes last for hours. Nothing else, I wanted to avoid that. Whoa! But the violence I feared didn't arrive. On the contrary, my captor bent down and picked up the bag I'd thrown into the ground.
It's best
相
friend.
変わらず変な人だね。
Friend!
松島
Best
み
friend.
ちる。
As always. You've
Maybe
only
the
met
one
me for
day.
like one day, yeah.
Not even one day. It hasn't been 24 hours yet.
It was the first time in a while somebody had bothered to call me that. A silly thought flashed onto my head. Oh, so that's what my name sounds like.
Oh.
Damn.
ねえ、お腹空いたから飲むんない？おごるから。
What's a dum dum?
どう
She has money.
I guess dumb
飲
things.
む？
In front of my eyes was the girl from my dream. I was definitely awake, but somehow I was dreaming.
断ったりしないよね。親友だもんね。この後何か用事でもあるの？
I couldn't get myself to speak properly, so I shook my head vigorously from left to right. No, nothing at all. But I kept right on doing it, until at last the girl reached out and caught my cheeks in her hands to hold me still.
わかったわかった。それじゃあ行こう。お腹空いちゃった。
Aww. She led me by the hand, and for the first time in my life, I entered a so-called fast food restaurant. The complicated menu and colorful photographs left me lightheaded, and I didn't have the first idea how to order. After staring in confusion and pain for a long while, I tugged on her sleeve.
あなた、本当にこういうところ初めてなの？
Yeah.
I quietly nodded my head. She just watched me for a moment, then laughed in amusement. A little later, a small tray sat on our surprisingly cramped little table, bearing the hamburger and fries the girl ordered for me.
Food.
Yeah.
Nice. It felt like she was really close. Eating a meal with my face so near to someone else's made me kinda nervous. I could feel my stomach churning. What was I gonna do if I threw up?
あな
Go
た
on.
隣のクラスだったんだね。こんなに面白い子がいるなんて全然知らなかった。
You know, there's a kid to want to kill herself in the other one.
Yo, you wanted to kill yourself too, yo, brofist.
どうかした？
Relatable moment.
これ、写真と全然違う。
Fuck.
ハンバー ことが
The most wholesomest and saddest thing in the world.
本当に面白いね。え、面白い？うん、面白い。そうだ、あなたクラスメートに何て呼ばれてるか知ってる？
知ってない。
何か言われてるの？そう、言われてる。しかも悪口。幽霊って呼ばれてんの。笑っちゃうでしょ？なんでよって思ったから、そんなこと言うのよしなさいって言っといたわよ。
Yo.
Aww. She chattered happily on, swinging the frame back and forth.
I
I
can't
had no
picture
idea
her
how to
doing this.
respond.
What?
I can literally just picture sitting there with like an apple on the table and like her fried just like swinging about.
I mean, I was surprised to know they bothered to badmouth me, but I was even more shocked she told them to stop. Why was this person being nice to me?
しかもあなたお嬢らしいじゃん。だからってファーストフード初めてってちょっと浮世離れしすぎじゃない？お嬢？そう、お嬢。ところでさ、携帯ある？赤外線やろうよ、赤外線。
What?
Infrared thing. You scan each other's phones and they send the date over.
ひとまず、今日は食べなさい、食べなさい。
My man's got a QR code. Oh,
Yeah.
It's the best. I am going to bet Michiru is going to say it's the best hamburger she ever had.
ここは私のおごりだから。そのぺったんこたーんとお食べ。
I heard the word
どう
petanco.
せ私にはこれぐらいしかおごれないんだし。
Yeah, she did say that.
Ouch. Michiru didn't grow up yet.
I picked up a miserably flat little hamburger from its bed of wrapping paper and took a large bite. To my surprise, a strong and vibrant flavor instantly filled my mouth. It might not have looked anything like the photo, but it actually tastes really good. Knew it.
Wait, she's rich. Just,
Yeah.
just pay for her.
I mean,
Actually, to be fair, they
considering
probably
that
don't know.
Michiru has depression, anxiety, and very low self-esteem.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
know-
think she thought of that.
That could inhibit that.
It was only glazed over in the hospital part. She also has a heart disease. Just need to mention that real quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She also...
So like the anxiety just makes it worse, basically.
Fuck.
なんで泣いてんの？謎なんだけど。おいしくて？おいしくて泣いてんの？それは大げさでしょ。ゾウさんも大喜びだな、こりゃ。
Mr. Elephant.
Maybe that's what they're at. They're in Whack Donald.
Donald.
Yo, what was that, Arlicus?
The hamburger was warm. The girl in front of me was kind, and I couldn't stop crying. Not surprisingly, she looked a little astounded. But even so, she laughed. No matter what I did, she'd laugh. Aww. After that, she started coming by every day after school, inviting me along to all sorts of different places. I guess she must have found my complete cluelessness kind of entertaining. One day it was karaoke, the next an arcade. The day after that, something else entirely. I got to see a lot of new places and experience a lot of new things.
ねえねえ、ここに書いてある初プリって何？
I laughed when I asked that question too. More than anything else, she was a girl that laughed a lot. And the places I went with her were always glittering with vivid rainbows of light.
Okay.
Went back to home after we said goodbye. My room looked stale and small by comparison. It was like falling to a broken down monochrome world. And then I realized I was in love with her.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
well,
And
gay?
then I realized I was colorblind.
Yo, what's color?
On top of everything.
Damn.
More and more, I spent my time impatiently counting down the hours until our next outing. Wishing she'd swoop down and take me out of there like a Prince Charming on a white horse.
Oh no. I'm just getting a little bit of gay vibes.
I remember getting off the train with her at some station I'd never visited before, and buying matching pills in boxes in a store I'd never known existed. Aww. Oh, that's so adorable. After anguishing over my choice for dozens of minutes, I bought her a small hairpin as a present, and got him a pouch in return. We traded hair scrunchies, ate ice cream together.
Yep.
The days rolled by like one unbroken dream.
Then one day,
Her email
What?
address and phone number were recorded in my cell phone.
What was the question?
then one day.
Doing it?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I couldn't even hear you. You got a lot of background noise. Then one day.
I was too scared to send her a message or dial her number, but for some reason just looking at those characters on screen would bring a smile to my face. One day, the two of us were on the rooftop after school.
Yo,
kissing
jump
leisurely
together?
out of the setting sun. The girl spoke to me in a quiet voice as the wind blew through her hair.
みちるは聞いてこないよね。何が？どうして飛び降りようとしてたかってこと。
No, I was going to do that myself.
All I said was like, I should go first.
She was
Damn.
always smiling, so I was taken aback to see her looking so serious all of a sudden. And more importantly, that completely unexpected question left me thoroughly flustered.
だって死にたかったんでしょ。それが全てじゃない。
Damn.
That's a
それ以
very
上
flat answer.
何を。そりゃそうだね。飛び降りの理由なんてそれしかないもんね。
I mean,
みちるは本当に
I'm
変な
waiting
子だ。
for Michiru to say that, well, I wanted to jump too.
let's go together.
そうかな。そんなことないけど。私はね、いろいろな人にいろいろなことを聞かれるんだ。進路がどう、
Oh, now I realize she has
彼氏がどう、
Asako's face.
バイトがどう、
You'll see
手
later.
の傷がどう、もうよくわかんないよ。
Reusing
もっと
faces.
シンプルな世界で生きていたいと思う。
I didn't really understand what she was saying, so I listened very carefully. I thought, I hoped, that if I listened carefully enough, I'd be able to pick up at least a little.
結局さ、人間って一人だよね。私のことを心から大事にしてくれる人なんてどこにもいないんだ。最後にはみんな消えていくよね。
I wanted to say it wasn't true, but I couldn't manage to speak.
嫌われたくないな。だったら先に私から嫌ってやりたい。私から先に消えてしまいたい。なんてね。ああ、ごめんね。
My
行かな
ears.
きゃ。
うん。いってらっしゃい。
Answer your phone.
みつ
She
る、
eats off the roof.
何？
好きだよ。
Ooh!
Wait.
With those words, she playfully pretend kissed me on the cheek. My face went red as a lobster, and me kind of straight.
What the fuck?
冗談。
Answer your phone!
Later,
Even
someone was just thinking
That's
about
just her
Eliza as
death
she
alarm.
left.
She can go jump
Still
off
laughing.
from another
I
window.
just stood there for a while as darkness settled over the rooftop.
Yavo?
That cell phone was always ringing. I didn't like it. Every time she was called off somewhere, she'd be quiet and subdued for a long time afterward. Her smile looked forced. Oh. I was worried somebody might be doing cruel things to her, but I wasn't able to ask. Sometimes I noticed nasty bruises on her arms and legs, even her face once in a while. Oh, okay. She'd always just laugh it off. It's okay. I'm fine. Don't worry. I knew it wasn't. It was no kid at all. But I was afraid that asking her something would pop the bubble, destroy what we had, so I kept quiet. Even then, I knew I was being a coward. She had pulled me up from the bottom of the sea. Shouldn't I return the favor? Take her hand, like she did for me? The question tormented me for a very long time. But there was no way I could do what she had done. I was still a piece of trash. It was only thanks to her that I could laugh a little. It was only thanks to her that I had found a little happiness. I couldn't allow myself to misunderstand. This was so
Dead.
Lingering alone at the roof, I gripped the cold metal handrail tightly. I still didn't have the courage to make the short journey to the other side of that fence. Good. For a few days after answering that phone call, my friend didn't attend school. I was afraid something bad might have happened to her. Just like when I was a child, I knelt by the windowsill and whispered countless prayers.
神様、どうか守ってあげてください。今まで通り、彼女が笑っていられるようにしてください。
I don't think she ever told her name, right?
Nope.
Or they
Girl.
left it.
She's just girl.
Girl.
At school, I would hesitate in my classroom at the end of the day, think she might appear in the doorway like always to drag me off to play. But I was a ghost in that class. I didn't dare make myself conspicuous. I reluctantly trudged up to the roof and waited for her, but no matter how patiently I waited, she never came. There was nothing but a steady passage of time. I did nothing but draw breath in a monochrome world. One day, somebody called my cell phone from a withheld number. I was scared to pick it up, but thinking it just might be her. I gathered up all the courage I could muster and pressed the answer button.
もしもし。
On the other side of the line, I heard someone breathing harshly, as if in pain. Maybe it was nothing more than a random prank call from a stranger. But with my eye, I saw her on the other end, the person I care about more than anyone else in the world. My girlfriend. And I remembered her words on the roof that day. I mean, when you get right down to it, we're all alone, right? It's not like anyone really cares about you from the bottom of their heart. Everybody disappears in the end. Don't want to be hated, so I'll hate first. Before they can leave me, I want to disappear. Or whatever. Back then, I wasn't able to give her a proper response. It left so many things unsaid. I decided to convey those feelings to whoever this might be.
どうして一人だなんて思うの？ちゃんとあなたのこと友達だって思って大切にしてる人がいるよ。それなのにどうして一人でどこかに行こうとするの？あなたは置いていかれるのがどんなに辛いか分かってないんだ。だから勝手にどこかに行こうとしちゃうんだ。
Somehow, I don't think it's that girl.
死ぬことは当たり前だよ。誰かに嫌わ
Ma'am,
れる
your
こと
order
だ
is ready.
特別なことじゃない。
Shit.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
私、あなたのこと大好きだよ。
Oh.
どこにも行かないで。もし、あ
That's
なたが
angry.
自分のことを幸せだと思うなら、これから幸せになろう。ここに戻ってきて、これからまた一緒に生きよう。
The person at the other end of the line hung up without a single word. I felt as though I'd been abandoned, left behind. I squeezed my cell phone tightly in my hand. Even now, I don't know who called me that day. The next time I saw my friend was more than 2 weeks later. By that point, even sitting through a class had become unbearably agonizing. I would spend the entire day on the roof waiting for her. And one day, completely out of the blue, she appeared before me once again. Oh, God.
Looking good, yo.
Oh,
I couldn't say a word. There wasn't a trace remaining of the girl who had always laughed so happily. Her school uniform was tattered and torn. Her hair looked like it had been hacked at with a knife.
How the fuck did she get there without anybody stopping her? You know?
Her
School
face
sucked.
too was full of bruises, numerous wounds as cruel as anything the tutors had inflicted on me.
But I mean, she had to
Rare
get to
visible
school
in
too.
the most conspicuous of places. Something terrible must have happened. Something so terrible I didn't even want to imagine it. It must have lasted a horribly long time. Just like that, there were tears in my eyes. God didn't protect her. I couldn't protect her.
大丈夫。これは私が望んだことだから。彼に捨てられたくなくてしたことだから。
Boyfriend or father? I hadn't asked a question, but she answered it anyway. Those clipped, vague words weren't enough for me to understand what had really happened to her. But I knew she was lying. I knew many sad, horrible things might have happened. Things she couldn't possibly have wanted to happen. Oh!
Yeah.
Oh no! I slowly approached her, then wrapped my arms around her trembling body. It surprised even me. I hadn't expected myself to do any such thing.
ありがとう。ミッチェルは優しいね。
そんなことない。
そんなことあるよ。あなたは優しい子だよ。ねえ、噂は聞いてるでしょ？あれって、その通りなんだ。まったく、バカだと思うよ。笑っていいよ。
In the classroom, my friend had become the subject of rumors. My classmates said she'd gotten to know a man tickets holder here over the internet, a man with a wife and children. They said he treated her like his mistress. They said something about photos of her and the man getting scattered around the internet. They said he'd done terrible things to her. But none of it mattered to me. No matter what had happened, it didn't change the fact that she was my best friend.
バカじゃないよ。
そうだね。こんな私と仲良くしてくれるなんて、バカかもね。
You both see?
そんなことないもん。
私、学校で嫌われてるんだ。友達もいないの。でもね、誰も相手にしてくれないから、あなたと友達になったわけじゃないからね。あなたのことがいいなって思ったから、友達になったんだからね。それだけは本当。でも信じてくれないよね。こんな私だもんね。
I want to say, of course I know that, but my voice failed me. It felt as though a chunk of cardboard had wedged itself in my throat. I couldn't force out even a tiny squeak.
私は、ミチルのことを親友だってちゃんと思ってる。ごめんね。こんなに汚れた友達で。こんなんで、本当にごめんね。
I want to say, like, slap her to slap some sense into her, but I don't feel like any sort of abuse is good right now.
What if she slaps her and falls over the railing?
I wanted to tell her that she wasn't filthy, but I couldn't say a word. All I could do was hug her tightly.
私、彼のことが好き。彼がしろって言えば、どんなことでもした。奥さんと別れてくれるなんて、そんなの最初から嘘だって分かってた。
もういいよ。話さなくていい。大丈夫だよ。
殴られても平気だった。何回でも頑張った。でも、もう限界。だって、あの人はもう、私のこと好きじゃないから。
She gave me another pretend kiss on my cheek. I closed my eyes and returned the gesture. Watching me, she smiled just a little. Scraps of her uniform danced in the wind like feathers fallen from the wing of a bird. She put her hands on the fence and swung herself gracefully over to the other side. No!
もう、私限界。あの人が私に興味のない世界になんて、あの人が存在しない世界になんて、いたくない。
Straddling the border between roof and sky, standing on the line that divided this world from the next, she spoke to me. A single thought ran through my dazed brain, just like the first time we met.
先に行くね。
I want to say, I'll come with you. You're not the only one, you know? I'm not interested in a world without you in it. So if you're going, I'll come along. Just don't leave me behind. Don't leave me here alone. I want to tell her. You joked that you loved me once, but I really do love you. That's the reason I'm still alive today. I wanted her to know, but I couldn't speak or move. My body felt like it was encased in concrete. I couldn't lift a single finger.
さよなら、ミチル。
Oh, rip.
I knew it. Fuck.
Colorblind.
Yo, finally got my color back.
I want to say the words. We're best friends, aren't we? Let's stay together. But instead, I just watched her in silence like a complete idiot.
Yeah, that's pretty dumb.
See? I was right. I'm the stupid one after all.
Just jump too, yo.
Yo.
That was the slime.
Oh, shit.
And that was unnecessary. Oh, wait, what?
I didn't know what to do. I just cowered. And then I tried to scramble over the rail. To see her. To see the end. But I couldn't do it. No matter what, I couldn't get myself over that fence. I could feel my feet giving way underneath me. I couldn't even keep myself upright. Why hadn't I died with her? I was right from the start. There was never a place for me here. Screwed it up big this time, didn't I? Shouldn't have let myself think I could become a normal person. Shouldn't have thought I could find something like happiness. Is that an ambulance?
Yep.
In the distance? In the end, it vanishes. The ball pops. In that case, it would have been better never to have got my hopes up in the first place, just like my parents stopped expecting anything of me. I should go stop expecting anything from the world. I heard the wail of a siren, chorus of horrified screams from far away. And then I fainted, my body still twined awkwardly around that fence. Just before I lost consciousness, I heard a sound like the click of a television set falling silent. I don't know if it was a hallucination or not, but I heard it clearly. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed. It seems I have been unconscious for quite a long time. Normally, there should have been police waiting at my bed to question me, but that took care of all that. Probably less out of concern for me than out of his desire to keep this troublesome situation from dragging on. I thought they'd discharge me soon enough, but I discovered that my chronic chest pain had grown dramatically more intense. My body was no longer physically capable of enduring a normal life. The doctor said that the shock of losing a close friend may well have advanced the progression of the disease, but I didn't really know if that was true. Either way, the pain in my heart that was now so agonizing could at times render me unconscious. My parents had more or less abandoned me, but I guess this miserable new development managed to move them to pity, and decided to send me to America for a heart transplant operation. Personally, I wouldn't have minded just dying, but it seemed like those two wanted to feel like caring parents, so I decided I might as well go along with it. Things moved along behind my back. Large amounts of money traded hands, although I didn't know the details. They didn't tell me much of anything about the donor, and I wasn't particularly interested either. All they said was that we received the heart of a brain-dead girl of the same age as me. Oh. I'm sure it must have been a really big, complicated operation. But since that day on the rooftop, I've been living like an empty husk. Kinda says it felt like much of an ordeal.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I know who.
Who's the villain?
They carried me off on an airplane to a place where I couldn't understand a word anyone was saying. The doctor put me under anesthesia and I fell asleep. Before I knew it, I was right back in Japan. I think that was the best friend, the donor. It really did seem to happen in the blink of an eye. I didn't have time to feel much of anything. My procedure apparently went about as smoothly as possible. They'd pumped me full of immunosuppressants to prevent my body from rejecting the new heart, but I recovered quickly without any side effects. It didn't even feel particularly strange, having another person's organs in my body, but I sometimes almost doubted whether they'd really operated on me. Of course, just touching the scar on my chest was enough to convince myself it had to be true, but really, what difference did it make either way? The lump of flesh inside me constantly thumping away was different from the one that had been there yesterday. That was all. Nothing was going to care. Nobody was going to care. Nothing important had changed. My doctor celebrated my remarkable recovery from the surgery as a miracle. So enthusiastic you might have thought my good fortune was his own. My parents had relief expressions on their faces as well. Expressions that seemed to read, "No, we don't have to worry about our now we won't have to worry about ourselves about this girl anymore." English.
Yeah.
The many months I had spent in various hospitals came to an end, and I began to recuperate at home. That was when the first signs of the change began to appear. Oh? Apparently, I was saying uncharacteristic things to my parents. I was talking and behaving in ways I usually wouldn't, almost as if I'd become a completely different person. My parents were incredulous at first, half suspecting some kind of elaborate prank, but that they knew I wasn't exactly a practical joker by nature. I wasn't consciously aware of any of this. My alternate personality came at the right price of gaps in my memory. Maybe I was sleepwalking, or turning into a different person without even realizing it.
Oh, that's weird.
The doctor diligently studied my brain activity and asked me all sorts of questions, but in the end he could only offer a vague conclusion. This phenomenon can be explained by modern medicine. Ultimately, the adults decided that powerful psychological impact of losing a friend in front of my eyes had led to changes in my personality. But I didn't really care either way. I responded with a disinterest, "Oh, that's so. Go to here." Gaps in my memories became frequent. Okay? And as time passed, they grew longer, harder to ignore. So the idea? The other male who showed up in these chunks of lost time seemed surprisingly competent. From what I gathered, she was much more sociable than I was, and a lot better at schoolwork as well. One night, I noticed dinner was a little extravagant. Dad smiled across the table and told me it was a reward to train so hard as my studies lately. It was kind of a strange experience, but I didn't really mind.
Yo, there's a big test coming. I need you to come out, girl. Come on.
I mean, if things were going smoothly, who cared if I remembered doing the things I was being praised for or not? As this pattern continued, I found myself acquiring a number of friends as well. Of course, I'd gotten to know them during the blank spaces in my memories, so I didn't really know what sort of people they were. Without any effort on my part, lots of people began greeting me in a friendly tone on the road to school. After saying hi, they'd usually ask, "What's wrong? Not feeling so good today?" Seems like they saw the usual me as the sick Michiru, and the person who showed up in those blank periods lost me as the normal, cheerful Michiru.
どうした？具合が悪そうだな。
I was lying down in my room one evening when Dad stopped by to check up on me.
らしくないぞ。いつもの元気な道を見せてごらん。
Oh
I hear me
no.
now. Click back leader.
Not knowing what else to do, I forced a strange smile on my face.
大丈夫。明日には元気になっているさ。今日のお前とはさ
Oh.
ようならな。
Smiling, Dad left the room and closed the door behind him. And all of a sudden, an image flashed into my head. An image of a girl frozen in flight. It was the girl who had left me so abruptly, my best friend who had abandoned this world. Her final goodbye echoed in my head, rebounding off the walls of my skull. The word was terribly sharp. Every time it clanged against the bone, it felt as though someone was drilling me open from the inside. Trembling with fear and pain, I dove into my bed in search of refuge. Greasy sweat broke out on my forehead. I swallowed a few of the pills my doctor had prescribed, pulled the blanket over my head and squeezed my eyes shut. If I can get past this, I'll become a cheerful Michiru again. I can't break down now. I silently repeated those words to myself. And soon enough, drowsiness wrapped me up in a thick, sticky cocoon blanket and all. Finally, I'll be able to sleep. I'll pull through it after all. It was just as those thoughts were running hazily through my mind, just as I stood on the border between reality and dreams, when I heard an unfamiliar voice from outside my blanket.
大丈夫だよ。安心して。心配しなくていいんだよ。
I didn't understand in the slightest how this was supposed to be alright. Hearing the voice of some strange woman as I tried to fall asleep really didn't seem to qualify.
私は君の弱さを引き受けてあげる。これからずっと一緒なんだから。
Yep, knew it. Knew it.
See you
It's her. The instant I heard those words, I felt my heart pound violently. A sharp white-hot pain spread from my chest throughout my entire body, as if traveling through my blood vessels.
親友なんて言わないで。私の親友、一人しかいない。一人しかいらない。
I remember the doctor offhandedly mentioning a phenomenon of cellular memory.
I was about to say that.
In rare cases, patients receiving the heart transplants have seemed to inherit aspects of the previous owner's tastes and memories.
I just want to ask before we continue, Frank, is that an actual thing?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, wait, wasn't there like a study where like any organ that you get from an organ donor, it takes like the fucking characteristics of the previous person. It's more common with like brain surgery, so that's pretty obvious because it's literally like what they were. Like they don't know. No one really knows if it's like a documented effect where it like happens, or like you just kind of believe that like you get better, or there's like because generally speaking, like people who take donors are like in a really bad place. Like I mean, you just kind of see one right here, so they don't really know if it's like a social issue or like some kind of mental issue, or it's actually just this donor's organ just it remembers.
Slowly becomes like them.
But, like I think it's cool. So
yeah, let's go.
No, this wasn't anything so minor. The former owner's entire personality has slipped inside me, complete and distinct from my own. And how she was talking to me, declaring herself as my best friend. I wasn't about to put up with that. Another best friend was the last thing I wanted.
あなたなんて大嫌い。勝手なこと言わないで。
Throwing off the covers, my pulse pounding in fear of my own body, shouted at the disembodied voice.
大丈夫だよ。私が助けてあげるから。助けてなんて欲しくない。私を助けられるのはあの子だけなの。
I couldn't even tell if this was reality or some insane nightmare. My terror escalated into frenzy. I ripped out clumps of my own hair, bit my own arms, and kicked things all over the room until my feet bled. But it wasn't enough. I grabbed a box cutter from my desk, grasped it tightly in my hands, and listened carefully, trying to figure out where the voice was coming from.
Yo, is her other personality Pico?
The voice was the
Channeling
cause
that
of this
energy.
pain. It flowed through my body with the blood pumping blood pumping out of my heart, bringing agony with it.
What was that, Shiro?
Don't worry about it. I was making a bad joke.
Oh.
But I was like, is her
I had to get
is
the
her
voice
other
out of my
personality
body.
Pico? Did she grab the box cutter and I
Oh.
was just making a bad joke?
God damn.
Please ignore me.
It's okay.
Yumiko.
Himi.
But Joel's fuck.
With that thought, I cut out my words with a blank, trying to drain the voice out of me along with my blood. But no matter how my arm bled, the voice remained securely inside my body. In that case, I had no choice. I need to operate directly. I need to get rid of that foreign entity pulsing away inside me.
oh shit.
I pointed the blade at my own chest and stabbed as hard as I could. It wasn't the sharpest blade, but it broke the skin easily enough. Slowly it cut its way through the flesh, just a little further, and it reached the heart. The invasion would be over soon. I'd be rid of the voice. I felt relief washing over me. But just then, I smelled a distinctive mixture of cigarettes and strange women, and realized that my father had entered the room.
どうしたミチルなぜだ
Before I knew it, my room had become a disaster scene. The shattered and torn remnants of my belongings stained dark with red splashes of red blood. The box cutter fell from my hands and hit the ground with a dull thunk. Their sound abruptly brought me back to reality. His familiar face was so contorted that he looked like an entirely different person. I had to smile. I had to reassure him. But different words came out of my mouth.
ねえパパ、私壊れちゃったの。
He hugged me closely for the first time in many years, but it was very different from that girl's embrace. Even though he was holding me close, I could feel a vast chasm looming between us.
Maybe it's the hole you just made in your chest. Who knows?
That very night, I was admitted to a new hospital. Not that I had any choice in the matter.
Yeah.
It was very quiet there. All of the patients were tranquil and sedate. Sometimes I felt as though I'd wandered some forgotten corner of the afterlife. There were times when I found the constant unchanging smiles frightening, but I got the idea soon enough. Basically, it was a place where you could live without getting tangled up in your emotions. In those intensive care unit, you could pass the time peacefully, think about nice things. To put the opposite spin on it, in that place you weren't allowed to think about anything else.
I'm assuming they moved her from the intensive care unit, at least.
The medicine they gave me there made my mind feel pleasantly clear. My other personality stopped emerging entirely.
Yo.
It was like living inside a tightly closed music box. Boring but very peaceful. I stayed there for a long time. I didn't talk with anyone. For the most part, I just stood quietly by the wall, trying not to stand out, trying to shrink myself down to the point where the world would where the world would overlook me.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, English.
Oh.
But one day I tripped on the leg of a chair and fell to the ground. That had never happened before, so I wasn't sure what to do.
Damn.
Fortunately, no one insulted me or yelled angrily. Instead, a few patients nearby put their hands to their mouths and giggled softly in amusement. I liked hearing that sound. I'm lying there on the ground, and an idea occurred to me. Maybe if I fell on purpose, I could make people laugh again.
Uh-oh.
Rolling
Uh-oh.
girl. Rolling
Uh-oh.
girl.
Really?
Dude, I do that on accident all the time, and people don't laugh at me.
No, I think they do. They just don't want to be rude.
Or just like, oh.
And I don't like.
The next day I tripped again.
Never mind.
Again, the people who noticed laughed a little. The day after that, I just deliberately spilled a glass of water, and more. I heard the pleasant sound of laughter. Emboldened by my success, I spoke.
勝手にこぼれるなんて変なコップ。
More people laughed than before. Their voices were warm and gentle. I found a way to make myself useful. By devoting myself to clowning around, I could at least make my others smile.
Yeah.
That's not good.
That way on, I acted out a sillier version of myself, an exaggerated, funny caricature of me. And I sustained myself on sugary, sweet diet of laughter. Alright then, from now on, I'd go with this way of life. The pretending didn't bother me. It was worth it to do something for other people. It was worth it to have something to live for. Nobody had appreciated me before, because I wanted them to like the real me. Problem was, the real me wasn't any good, so might as well just pretend.
You've both seen.
All I had to do was act out the most convenient role, force out the most convenient emotions, become someone who put that smile on people's faces. Even if that meant the real me disappeared entirely, I didn't care. I was a little anxious about whether someone as stupid as me could even act convincingly, but I had no choice but to try.
Woo!
Damn.
What?
Among the
What?
patients, I gained a niche as the weird but funny girl. As I grew into the role, I became more lively. In time, the doctors decided I was on my way to a full recovery and politely ejected me from the hospital.
Wait.
Eject.
Don't make an Among Us reference. I'm going to slap you.
That's pretty.
I've never
sus.
played that in my life, so I will not be
They
making.
already did it.
Did someone already?
One, it's
Sus.
an imposter.
Sus. Hey, of course he
Sus.
said sus. I'm about to box cutter my own heart. Chiru sus.
Juicy Yuji sus.
They're all sus.
Oh.
Dead.
Did Orion just die?
Onion.
Involved in the Hama Academy soon after my return.
A little bit.
I kept writing playing the clown in the school. I thought it would be nice to keep everyone laughing. And in fact, that's just how things turned out. They passed it pleasantly enough for the most part. Every once in a while, I thought I remember that this still was nothing but an artificial make-believe world. whenever we laugh together, I almost
I
explode.
think you're covering the mic or something.
Yeah, your mic.
Sorry.
Ah, no, you're good.
And over time, my uncertainty grew. I'm so sorry.
It's
I am
good. You're
trying
good.
my I am trying my best to be Chiru.
Yo, stealing my identity now? Damn.
Oh.
Michigan does a better job.
Damn.
I didn't want to lose what I found here, but I didn't want to grow dependent on it. The more I pretended to be someone I wasn't, the less I understood what I wanted to do. Did an imposter, sus, like
Stop.
really belong to in the
Among
first
Us.
place?
Among Us.
Stop.
Among Us.
I felt like I was living in an ant-lion's pit. There was nowhere else for me to go, no way out of the rut. All I could do was struggle not to fall.
Go.
Well, you are on a tightrope, ma'am.
それが私なの。
You vote.
Having delivered her lengthy story in one uninterrupted setting, Michiru finally pauses, her face lined with fatigue. And
Okay.
I stopped voice
Yeah.
acting.
I just want to just clarify something because the anime kind of also implied it with Michiru. I mean, other Michiru's eye color. The best friend is not the other Michiru.
Oh.
It's a random girl from America who was like in a car accident, I believe. Yeah.
Oh.
So confused.
ごっこでも恋人のふりでもしてくれてありがとう。私幸せなのかもって勘違いしそうになっちゃったけど
Okay, now someone needs to
全部
slap
嘘
her.
だって分かってるし
Slap. Be slapped. Take one of them tails and whack her with it.
キスしてもらってる時今が終わらなければいいのにってずっと考えて
I'm sorry, Michiru, it was all a prank. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't even a prank. It wasn't even me.
離れちゃう
It was my other self.
それって
Can you imagine?
Killed him.
Hmm.
うんどうしても病院に行かなくちゃダメ心配か本当なら嬉しいな本当にごめんなさいだって出しといて愉快って思ってくれるなんて嬉しくて困るどうして
Goddamn soon that is.
うん
Dame.
Nice.
ありがとうユージユージがそう言うなら明日にでも検査に行く早い方がいいでしょ りがとう。ごめんね、迷惑かけて。エッチなことで。
Oh.
Oh my god.
Yeah, probably.
そうだ。ねえ、できれば明日の朝、早くにここを出て病院に行きたい。他の子に見られたら恥ずかしいじゃない。だから、それだけ。5時で。
The regular time, yo. Date time, 5 a.m.
That's his run time, though. Man's like, no longer running.
わかった。ねえ、ユージ。私、ユキ。
Damn.
なんて。
Psych!
言わないんだからね。
Dude, that's the second time you said it now, so.
No take.
Might be the third, I believe. Yeah.
またね。
Oh, I thought he left.
You-
She left there.
Like, can you even feel, like, safe leaving her by herself after she tells that story? Like, dude, lock the doors.
Don't you remember in the catch-up? She even nearly overdosed.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Damn. This is pretty much where we stop once this event ends. Next time, the decision that will change the world.
セーブするわ。
Did she keep it or not?
Saying
Jump or not to jump?
goodbye.
Shit.
Fuck.